All right, Adam. So I'll ask you a question that's near and dear to my heart. So I guess you could say that I might fall prey to this sometimes, like being a perfectionist, or idealist, but not in a bad way, in a good way, right? But and it happens a lot in business, and some of the best leaders we have are really good architects or engineers, but maybe they're bad managers, right?
Yeah.
And so the question is in your opinion, please be truthful. Do you see that as a positive, a negative? I mean, or how can you use that if it is not as good to be a positive?
So perfectionism, I actually think, is a negative. And if you're a perfectionist, you'll never be a leader. I know, it sounds bad, right? Hey, Adam, how can perfection not be a problem? No, there's nothing wrong with perfection in that. I buy a laptop. I want it to be perfect. I want it to work. I buy a building. I want it to be there. I want it to work, right? But in a social context, in a leadership management context, perfectionism is a hindrance. It is actually a problem.
Yep.
I'm actually coaching a junior leader at work at the moment who is struggling with this. This is a person who really passionately believes in the work they're doing. They want to do a great job. So all good, right? All ticks in the boxes. You can't be angry at that. But the problem is the perfectionism is masking something. It's masking procrastination. So this perfectionism is leading to an inability to move forward, to go fast, to get things done, to manage people, to delegate, right? So I can't delegate because no one does it as good as me. That's right. A perfectionist problem. I can't get out the door. I haven't done the to-do list and I haven't checked this. That's procrastination. These are all side effects of perfectionism, right? And actually, I think perfectionism is also based in fear, because the reluctance to put something out until it's absolutely perfect is a reluctance to be judged and a fear that you're not good enough.
But don't you like, so I always call it baptized by fire. And I always basically tell people, you don't know what you don't know until, and then I'm like, I tell my students all the time, I'm like, so now is the time to learn how to fail. So when you get in the field, you understand how to deal with it.
Hit the nail on the head there, right? So also it's a fear of failure, right? Yeah. Now, you and I are big, old and ugly. We've been punched in the face enough times that it's not a problem, right? And this is what I'm saying to these people I'm coaching on this is, you are going to fail. There are going to be stuff you're going to put out and you're going to go, ooh, that's not something that's great. But sometimes you've got to get out the door and you've got to be able to take the hits on it, right? You've got to be able to take criticism. You've got to be able to take bad judgment. You just got to.
But you also, like, for me, I'm now, like you said, getting older and got bruised, is I used to like try to protect, like you said, the junior leaders or the junior people. And now I'm still going to protect them. I'm still going to be right there, and I'm probably going to make the damage smaller. Yeah. But how does someone learn unless they literally have faced the monster and they're standing there with the dragon? You know what I mean?
I can remember some of the best lessons I had was when I effed up, and then there's a big 250-pound pipe fitter screaming at me because I've done something wrong. So you remember that shit.
I'll tell you, it's gonna sound crazy, but the best lesson I've ever been taught my entire life was at my previous company. I don't know, years ago, where I started in one role, and then within two or 3 months later, one of the West Coast leaders quit, right? And basically asked me, he's like, "Hey, are you ready to take over all these offices?" I'm like, "No." And he's like, "Well, do you want me to pass it on?" And I'm like, "No." He goes, "So you want the challenge?" "Yes." So I literally spent 6 months, I'm not going to lie, 6 months staying at that office, closing down the office, shutting the gate at 10:30, 11, 12:30 at night, talking and dealing with project controllers, accountants, to understand what, WIP, EBITDA, basically this, that, pulling ahead, all the different languages that you need to learn how to basically be a manager, and then basically to move in higher project management. And every day I wanted to cry. And then at the same time, though, it's like I call it baptized by fire. And then it changed something in me, right? Where it didn't matter what situation was. I'm like, I can handle it. We can handle it. We can figure this out. But I've always wondered, how does I got lucky. I literally fell into a fire hole, right? But I basically learned how to, like, crawl out. How do we actually train people to be in that situation without actually having what happened to me, even though it was the best thing in my life? But
yeah, because what happened was you went out, you were pushed from your comfort zone to discomfort, so you could
beyond
learn.
like,
Right. So there's no growth in comfort. You have to be pushed into discomfort. But if you have a good leader around you who's sort of got your back, you will not be pushed into catastrophe. You'll be pushed into discomfort and kept just on that edge. So you're growing.
I did. And I'll say his name. His name was Sean Grimm. If he ever watches it, he's a senior vice
Shout out to him,
WSP. Right? And I haven't really talked to him much since I left him, but love you. And I'll never forget, he said something to me. He goes, we are only as successful as you are. What do you need to be successful? I will be here to help you. And he was always there to help. He really was. You know what I mean? And it's just like, I take a lot of the lessons learned that he and I talked about, and he was such a gracious guy to help me out with so many things. And I've had a lot of mentors like that. And I literally, that's why everyone who knows me is basically, I say, you get what you give, pay it forward. That's why I mentor. That's why I teach. That's why we do this. We're always giving back. So we're not this, you know what I mean? So it's just like, and we you and I spend 5-6 hours every Saturday talking about issues of the world and blah, 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 and how we make it better. But we're always giving back because we care. And even we don't have the time, we're busy, but find the person that is like that you want to be, and that's the person you go work for, and then basically grab all that knowledge and throw out the crap you don't want, and then basically move ahead. But never forget the basic knowledge is that you get what you give and help other people.
Yeah. So just to wrap up then, let me, I don't want people to think perfectionism in and of itself is a problem. It's a problem when you're using it to stop doing what you should be doing, right? So if you find yourself that want to put things out, doing your email when you should be doing something else, like just doing BS stuff, doing a to-do list before you get into that hard deliverable, that's procrastination. Stop that. So what's the answer? The answer is two things. It's a mixture of minimum viable product and discipline, right? So we are paid as professionals to deliver something. Perfectionists tend to over-deliver. So
okay, but so my one question, I know we're wrapping up. My one question is always this. So if you're always trying to protect your kid from getting burnt, right, or hurt, then but how do we give little pieces of the, you know what I mean? Like, how do you slowly get them used to like understanding? That's been my whole challenge is like, how do you expose them to little bits of pain instead of throwing them right in the fire? Because what if you threw someone in the fire and they didn't come back from it, and basically they quit or they lost it and they were hurt? Like, how do we, where's the middle ground? Where is this?
So for that, you need a good mentor, and you need someone who's willing to move out of their comfort zone. Then two things have to be in place, not one on its own. Both of them things have to be there. Because to move out your comfort zone to where you should be going to learn, you need someone who knows what they're doing to guide you. You need a guide, right? Just to blindly blunder forward at your comfort zone into something dangerous is dangerous, right?
It is. It is.
So this is why you need discipline. You need to understand what you should be delivering. What's the minimum viable product you should be delivering? And you should deliver that with excellence, but with discipline, right? Meet your deadline. Meet the standard.
Is there a good book that you want to plug? Because I don't know any.
No, but maybe that's my next book. I don't know, but
that's the right one.
It's fascinating to me that how many highly educated professionals, whenever I challenge them when they look like stressed out or they've missed a deadline, I say, "What was your deliverable? What's the deliverables on this job?" And when they do, you get like that. Look, that happens 80% of the time. I ask that question, and it drives me nuts. So, discipline means doing what you should do, not what you want to do. And you cannot deliver a job unless you break it down and quantify it. And perfectionism has its place in terms of delivering, but perfectionism on its own is procrastination and bullshit. That's
Understand your client, understand industry, understand what you need to turn over and what you don't, understand what your bare minimums are, and then basically how you can exceed those to still basically achieve your goal.
Yeah. So you've got to move as a professional who's running a job or even delivering on a job. You've got to understand the big picture and your place in it.
That's not easy. That takes a lot of years. Everybody wants to jump. Everybody wants to have that, I've been in the industry for 5 years, and you're like, and so he's been in for 40 and he still doesn't master it. You're like, I can get it.
Yeah. So age isn't actually the factor. Again, it always comes back. Competence is the key factor. I would rather have a young person who's super confident than some old dude who's been there 40 years and still like wondering how everything works. Competence is key. You can be young and aggressive and good and go places, but the competence is required there, right? So anyway, that's my little rant on perfectionism. It's actually as good as you think it is.